In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful, the most advanced. Welcome to another lecture. I have the privilege of speaking to my species and immortalizing my voice in cyberspace. And you have the privilege to see how far one member of the human species saw. I have lived, I checked it yesterday, around 12,414 days on this planet. I don't count the years, I count the days. I count, in some sense, the logging in and logging out of reality. To me, what life has been such a fascinating journey because I have had to use the content of the experience to explain the experience. However, I feel that I was also privileged and blessed in a way that I don't even fully understand to be capable of noticing uncommon. And so I expect nothing from the human species other than perceiving me as an uncommon. But the whole point of it is that I am alive once, and so this is the microphone of this era in history, and now we are not in a context this moment. This context. The most beautiful, incredible question that any time I ask, I have incredible. And it's the question, what is going on? To me, this question is a source of joy. That means any sort of depression, whatever kind of day I have, or the sort of whether I confront whatever sort of behind my eyes, even something that just brings me to the blue. It's how we don't know what's beyond. You understand? So anytime I feel too much pressure from this reality, I just for a second just pause everything, like as if like pausing a video game of your own life, and you're like, okay, what's going on? And there's a clarity to that. I don't know why I have that sort of style of going about things, but to me, what is going on in this world, in where we are, seems to be so important that it is clear to me on some level that the species has not made mistakes, there, or the mistake we have made is not notice what was important. In this lecture, you will hear somebody explain reality in a way that might change you, you know, but that's my intent because that's the nature of reality. You know, it's the fact of the matter, and when you see what's there, regardless of what you want to be, and in some sense, you have witnessed the presence of truth. So, in this episode, you will hear a human being try to tell you what's going on Earth. And I've also prepared a research report because how I even came to this lecture, like why I even wanted to give this lecture, is because for a moment I asked AI. I legit went up to AI and told it my view. And I'm like, all right, AI, what do you, not any human or anything like that, what do you think? And of course, it's ChatGPT 5.2 answer. I finally got a subscription. And guys, if my voice is too low, keep reminding me because the input volume automatically adjusts itself. I asked AI, I'm like, what do you think is happening here? Right? And I know what I think is happening here, and I will, at the second part of the lecture, share it with you. But this episode is not just for you viewers, it is also for myself. And because I listen to my lectures too, but the way I listen to it, the time comes me. So I look at the clock, and right now it's like 1:42 p.m. Okay. Now I either go listen to lecture, I go on YouTube and type in MW142. Each lecture has a code, it'll bring it up. So MW142, or I in some sense go MW1421. You know, it's the nature, or 1342, right? And I put MW. So for me, I use the lectures as momentary reflectors. That's my personal way of using them. Now I don't know how the viewers use them, you know. And if you are using the lectures where you're too drawn by my identity, never forget I'm a simulation like all of us here. My body's here for some time. This energy that is moving the psychology in front of you right now is here for some time. And at some point, I would have to look at this world and, in some sense, have hopefully lived in a way where I don't need to say goodbye. You know, because to me, eternity was greater than immortality. And regardless of it, it's all ruins. That means if you ask me, do you feel more like an unknown life force, an unknown being having access to different rooms of states of reality compared to you being a specific real entity? I'll be like, yeah, man. It's I am an awareness here before the thought moves. Like, how do you think I'm even communicating now? You know, the inner realms move faster. I'm not like, don't think I'm moving my mind to then tell you how I'm moving my mind. You know, it moves in accordance to vision and what is in your awareness, and you are strangely very similar to like a candle in a dark room. Not that the wax is like the body, how it's temporary, but just that you illuminate your moment. Do you understand? That means I don't know who you are, but behind your eyes, you're brightening your world by what by assigning meaning to what you see. And the human challenge here has been really, do we find truth, or do we generate truth? Like, I don't know which one to do, man. You know, should I go find the truth of reality, or is the truth of reality a generated state? Now, I'm going to give you an answer. It's technically both, but also at the same time, you're not limited. So it's like, yes, you can find states of mind that are not based on you. That means, like, think of it this way: every person is identifying as an individual right now. Each individual is identifying with a free will, so you can like move your body. Okay, but your free will is limited because you can move your hands and legs. You can't move like the cells in your body. You know what I mean? Like our consciousness is to the outside of the biological existence, which is a very important clue of how the system admin of this sector has designed this place. Okay, but I'm saying that if you look at the nature of your free will, the options are you move the moment or the moment moves you. Okay, now spiritual people are people who the moment moves, so they know that there's a power in this realm that moves before they. Do you understand? Like, to me, anybody who's spiritual, okay, even the ones who are doing it for cultural reasons to fit in, like those guys that believe in horoscopes, for the um, wrong and right reasons. So I'm saying there is a cultural identity, but the moment things get intense, your cultural identity won't stand. Like if an alien lands down, right, and let's say you're the CEO of the biggest company on earth, okay, and imagine an alien lands down, and you're like, "Yo, alien, you don't know who you're talking to, man. You're talking to the most important CEO on earth, you know." And the alien's like, "You think I give a shit?" Excuse my language. But the alien's like, "You think I care, buddy? Your consciousness is at the level of you just identifying with an idea. You thinking you're a CEO is just an idea in your experience. You don't understand what you are. So this is the thing about it, that right now, I am convinced our species has invisible darkness. I am not kidding. our species as invisible guardians. All this science fiction stuff, you know, of like, yo, man, aliens invading humanity using nuclear weapons or like using next level weapons and spaceships to kind of fight, like their own spaceships to fight aliens. It's like, buddy, you're worried about an external invasion. Excuse me. Excuse me. Like, if the aliens were a bit smarter, they're like, guys, we don't need weapons and an army to invade Earth. These beings have no clue what they are. They're just identifying with whatever they think they are. Do you know how scary that is? Do you know how vulnerable our species is if it was psychologically invaded? And I'm someone who, like everybody else, I'm like, man, I'm here to be a physical being. But wait a minute. I close my eyes, no light enters my eyes, and yet I can see. I can see the food I ate yesterday. I can envision the food I will eat tomorrow. And it's not just food. Advanced civilizations, advanced beings have contacted me, but they don't contact me. They contact the state. They're found in the state. So that means you're listening to someone who, I don't know how, I think the greatest blessing I've received on this planet was to not fit in at first, so I could see how none of it fits. Like, excuse me. They're conditioning you to be an idea that owns the moment. You look at a person and you say that's a good person. You look at a person, you say that's a bad person. The species is functioning on an ideological level. An idea is a part of your moment, it's not your moment. In the same way, human beings can legit look at something else. Like, I want you, whoever you are right now, just wherever you are, look at something. And then look at something else. And that's what I mean. The inner realms is attention oriented. In front of your eyes, you can be a form. You're in a form. Behind your eyes, you're in a force. You think right now someone's talking. I'm legit an unknown life force moving this life form in the storytelling era. Legit, we've told a story on an unknown place, and we're acting like that story is true, and we're wondering, is this it? Are we just looping characters and stories? All right, I'm going to open up the title a bit more, and then there's a research component, and then I will explain to you how the thunder strikes itself. If you go and check, AI considers from 300,000 years ago, that range, there has been in existence 117 billion humans. You are one of those 17 billion humans that have ever existed. You have an unbelievable and unfathomable and unconditional value. You're living in a civilization that has forgotten this or has not become conscious of this. The task is very simple. This is the game. You enter a system, you update the system, and you leave. You update the system until the system can update itself, and then you breathe anew. Oh, human species, give yourself some time to think beyond time. March towards that which is not a good idea, but march towards that where it feels your presence is. You might not believe it, but in your inner realms, there's so many ways to move. And I will show you, I will tell you legit how I move in my inner realms. I move by being there. I give lectures by having already given them, having seen the destination, just like a pilot knows where the airplane is going and everything's automated. In the intelligence of the modern realm, consciousness through form now discovers the formlessness of the field. The greatness of a species is being discovered again. There is currently 8.1 billion people alive. These 8.1 billion people are 7% of all humans that have existed from, let's say, from a range of 300,000 years ago. We are living at a time where none of us know what's going on. We've accepted certain interpretations on reality. We have layered subjects over objects, and we have become are acting satisfied. But I know that behind your eyes there is a self standing in a world that nobody can see, and you've been waiting to see who in the outer realms notices that world. And I see all of you, even though I don't. I'm just giving a podcast in one moment of the space-time continuum. I have seen the nature of the human position. The game moves beyond culture, it even moves beyond the human idea. But beyond the human idea, you're not an individual, you're a field of being. The true nature of reality is field like. Those who have faith in the field can manifest in the field. Those who do not have faith in the field only have faith in the node, manifest as the node. You must realize to be human is the test of intelligence. You are being tested to see if you remember the original power. You are here to see, being tested to see if you can remember the original earth, the original self, the original world, the realm where eyes do not belong to individual aspects. The presence of the moment is unified. That means when you suddenly, it dawns upon you that you have been existing in the same moment where all existence has been existing. And if we're using existence to as the limit, as the limits of knowledge, then where is existence existing? Where is all existence existing? Do you see mankind? You cannot see that far. And so, what does our species do in the presence of the unknown? This is where souls are born to, in some sense, say, yes, I do understand. Live a life filled with love, joy, and happiness, and patience and glory. You know, but there are moments in life for souls that are the souls of designers. I'm sorry, do you know what that means? That means there are souls on this earth, that there are beings, humans on this earth, that when they look at this world, before the storytelling begins, it's geometry class. Do you know how many lines you're seeing right now? Do you know how many different spaces you're seeing right now? Do you know that the lines give the space shape? Do you know that you are a power in this world? And do you know that you're not the most powerful, yet you are in the presence of the most powerful? Beyond the human idea, there is power in this world. They're like, do you believe in miracles? I'll be like, it's the other way around. The miracles have believed in us the moment existence was commanded to be a place. That means it's like you open your eyes on a planet, you open your eyes on a planet and they tell you, you know, I got a slow hand clap for existence. Good job, existence. You had almost convinced. You had you were very close to convincing me that you were the only existence. But it is the situation of duality. That means psychologically, a dualistic entity cannot fathom beyond infinitude. You can imagine like three apples. You can't imagine like infinite apples. Similarly, you as a dualistic entity are living in a simulated system, a linguistic simulation, as a subjective position, and this character in the story is trying to advance. Yet you don't understand that the advancement of duality is infinity. What's cooler than a dualistic being? You know? Like why are there people like who are trying to make us immortal like that? There's companies out there, you know? You need to feel the heartbeat of your species. It's way bigger than your heart. And it's like your mind first asks, what am I doing? What is going on for me? An epistemological approach. But then epistemology doesn't satisfy the unknown soul. And so we go to ontology. And so we wonder about what nature is, regardless of what we think, feel, or interpret it as. You understand? In the same way we respect others, or because they are unknown people, unknown beings of intelligence. Similarly, you must respect your moment. You're in the presence of unknown intelligence. Everything is moving, and you didn't create anything. You understand? We are generating our meaning out of the meaning generated before us. Therefore, I think this settles it. Truth is something to be found because our generations are not from us, objects. Okay. So, okay. Different octave. Yes. So, what is going on Earth? I want you to feel it's an unknown event, fascinating beyond our comprehension. That we are born as conditional biological organisms. Access to oxygen is vital. There's a physical gain. They're like, what's the purpose of life? Oh, yeah, to keep existing. So that's like a major purpose. Like the first layer of the purpose is physical. It's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. But at some point, you wonder about where your life is going. I don't know. I'm sure others have felt this too. There's like a moment that comes where you're like, man, I'm surviving. But what am I surviving for? What am I really here to do? And something remarkable we discovered in these kind of moments that there is no one that has your DNA. There's no one that exists like you, and your consciousness behind your eyes of yourself and your inner realms was the secret way the world spoke to you and didn't spoke to others differently. There was a time I thought that the mind was limited to the brain, and then I realized no, the physical position is a no, and the non physical position is a field. And this whole time, we thought that God had to come in physical form and tell us that it's present. But in reality, everything was going somewhere. Like, that's how I would see it. That means before we think of death, it's like, where did it go? For me, there's been moments where, like, my grandfather passed away, and it kind of like it was like like an iceberg, like a chunk of me was kind of leaving. And there's moments where I've met people who I just after that never met them again. And it's funny, it's because there's something given and it's taken away, and we thought we were what was given, and when it's taken away, we realize we weren't. There's 8.1 billion humans roaming the earth right now. What are they doing? Like 100% majority of them are eating, sleeping, basic survival. But what's beyond basic survival? Like, what's the joy and privilege of being civilized? Why are invisible laws taming masses of people? It's because we care for the future. Ever since we became future conscious, we have become aware of the divine. Do you understand the power of religion? They're wondering about why religion is popular and why nothing else is as popular as religion on the planet. You know why? Because what else is explaining it? That means they're either like, yo, man, the light's off or the light is on. Either you're in a world that is a completely intelligent, active field, the divine and divine field. You're either, it's either, this whole thing is a divine cognitive field. That means we identify as our body, but we don't know how the field identifies with our body. Do you know what it means to be a field? It means if your whole life you thought you were an individual physical being, you're realizing there's a part of your intelligence that has an awareness to multiple. So more than people have memories, they have access to a memory field. More than you have thoughts, you have access to a field where thoughts arise. And one day you will realize that field is very intimately connected. That what human beings consider to be true is something that can't be doubted, and what can't be doubted is instantaneous. You see how genius exists. You're like, yo, man, these humans are going to search for the truth. But if they pause for one moment, they will discover the whole moment is true. That means how could a simulation exist if there's nothing original for it to be a simulation? You see, we are not lost souls. We are souls found in a system. It's a system, folks. God is the system admin. The angels, Shaitan, are the moderators. You understand? If AI starts controlling people in the future, the AI is going to be able to. You understand? It doesn't shift the position of what is truly present because I have understood it. It's intentionally designed that everything is physical. So the planet is physical. Like if this was a test, that means if this was like a trick, if existence was a trick question, you know, if it was a test, we had to be like, wait a minute. truly wonder about what is going on Earth, it's simply to discover the limited position of man. So nobody should fear or be ashamed of their limitations. You should be ashamed if you don't, at least in this lifetime, try it out and attempt that limitless. But doesn't mean be foolish. You see, for me, I'm someone who I had to make a decision on how I want to treat the world, and I've decided to treat the world in trying to find the most advanced state and view of every moment of my life. You know, to me, I cannot ignore the geometry. The geometry of existence speaks for itself, but the meaning assigned to that geometry, which is a subtler geometry, doesn't explain the geometry. You understand? That means I can't use shapes to explain shapes. I can't use a tree to explain what a tree is. And we can't use a human to explain what a human is. And this is why at some point the dualistic consciousness that is trying to be individual, it's like honestly to me, there's an extension. It's like my presence is singular, my awareness is dualistic, and then what extends, it's like honestly, I wish I could draw it, right? But it would be like I can see it's like a system, okay? It's called systems thinking. In systems thinking, the whole point of it is you see everything as inside the system. So everything in the system simultaneously has a relationship with the whole system. Okay? So for those people who feel like, okay, this is all God, like there's people like that on this planet, they just one day they're like, wait a minute, is this all God right now? Is everything is just God present, nothing else? Not per se. Think of it this way that we are characters in a novel. This is what trying to break out of the linguistic situation is like. You discover you're a character in a novel. You discover there's like 8 billion characters in the story. You don't know who's writing the story, but you know that the story is still being written. And you know that you are, as a character in the story, have some purpose of existing in the story. Like, why would a person in a story create a character without purpose? And when somebody writes a story, a novel, everything in the story has a value to what happens to the destiny of the character. So I'm saying to treat reality as a subject, as treat like you're conditioned to treat every like you're an idea right now. Okay, you probably think you're a name, right? So that like if you think you are your name and your personality and your backstory, you're a character in the story, right? Now I'm saying that character in the story, religion would be like, okay, there's a power that is authoring manifestation. Therefore, this power is superior to any manifestation. You know, pretty much I'm saying what is going on Earth is this like suddenly lit candle in the moment of existence, this awareness that it enters, that logs into the conscious waking state. Okay, right now, like I'm in the conscious waking state. I'm aware, like I have access to sight from my eyes, 180, but from the edge of the 180, I can see the 360 almost, almost. Pretty much, you're looking at 8 billion beings in an unknown place, start naming things, and then assuming, treating the language overlaying reality as more real than the reality. And now we have a generation of kids who they're identifying with the idea of themselves more than their actual self. Like that's the issue with global culture, right? People are identifying and getting emotions from their internal inner realm existence more from inner realm events than outer realm events. Compared to my ancestors, I've lived way more indoor than outdoor. I feel souls in this realm, they're all seeking like a moment to anchor themselves in. Because you're conditioned to be an ideological being, you believe you need to have an explanation for your experience. But when you go look history, it's been the other way around. You experience something and then you try to explain. Therefore, we're living at a time where not only is there an objective physical life of physical organisms, but there's the subjective linguistic life of all these physical organisms. There's a reason we can all speak the same language. There's a reason we have united. The trend has been to get the future further than the past. That means to me, like when I went to honor my ancestors, I felt they just shouted at me, like, what are you doing? Run towards the future. That has been the greatness of the human odyssey. To me, what makes us human is that we can care for what happens. If you didn't care for what happened, it's not a human state, it's a dehumanized state. People nowadays, they think being alpha means being dehumanized. It's crazy. It's scary, right? Because it means that let me tell you this, if you identify as an idea, you're going to live a very emotionally turbulent life because any moment can change that. Why do people get angry? Why are people stubborn? Because they don't. Why are they stingy? Because they don't want the idea of themselves to change. They haven't understood that life is not just a freaking noun. It's like you don't have to just stand as a perfect noun. It's an unknown proverbial. It's active. It's alive. More than you need physical assets, you need intelligent interaction levels, higher intelligent interaction levels. That means to me, if they were like, "Hey man, would you rather have $1 billion or get a chance to have a conversation with an extraterrestrial?" You know, and imagine that if you had $1 billion, you could never know what the conversation would be like. If you had the conversation, you would never know what $1 billion. I would say the conversation with the alien, because the value of my life is how I'm valuing things. But how I'm valuing things is based on how far I'm aware of, right? It's as if somebody trying to order pizza, but they don't know how many people are actually there. You know what I mean? So it's as if like they're only going based on their inner realm. You gotta like the whole point of life is it's kind of been designed so anytime you get too overwhelmed from the outer realms, you can kind of go and be in your inner realms. Okay, I'm somebody who's legit had this OCD of trying to figure out what mind is, right? And I came to the realization that what I am treating as an individual thing to get or know is actually the presence of a field. So I'm telling you, like if they ask me right now, what's the most advanced way of being human? Is it to like, think of yourself as an idea and that idea is doing everything? I'll be like, no, 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 that's not the most advanced. The most advanced state is actually a state where you have to ask yourself, do you want to know the world before how people live? Okay, that means for me, I kind of somehow had a comfort with still being human and oblivious to the human, right? But at the same time, noticing the humanized states. Just like how Andy Warhol had that quote where he's like, when you go to the edge, you see things that others don't see. Similarly, it's not about being humanized, it's about going at the, towards the edge of our humanity. This doesn't mean stability or instability of behavior. The edge of humanity means how much of reality is only explainable because we're considering the geometric set of what it means to be a human. So I'm saying that it's like this is not just an emotional problem, it is not, it is also a geometrical problem. That means to be responsible for yourself as a life form, you're not just being responsible for your body, you're being responsible for the format of how shapes in existence are in some sense organized and classified. I don't know if you know this, but Napoleon Bonaparte, you know, Napoleon, this dude is inner realms that he was like some next level, like organized individual, right? And he was like a neat freak also. And so they in some sense, like pretty much Napoleon is in his imagination, he would visualize like this like I don't know table drawer thing, and all the battle plans and everything that had to happen in the kingdom was organized in his mind in a certain drawer of this gigantic table drawer. You know, so so I'm saying it's up to you how you choose. I personally don't have an image. Like if they tell me what does your inner realm look like, I'll be like, I can't tell you what my inner realm looks like. I can tell you what I see in my inner and you can assume what I see in my inner realm is what my inner realms look like. It looks like, but what it is coming into terms that the human life equals known self plus unknown self equals this one self. Okay, that means you're in one way, you're being two ways. In two ways, you're being infinite ways. In infinite ways, you're being no way. You're being the void. So, and the whole point of it is that this world has a system, and so what's going on Earth is that this place isn't Earth. It is some random place, but it's not Earth. We named it Earth. We started calling it Earth. Okay, that doesn't count. Okay, so technically we're unknown selves in an unknown place, and we've chosen to identify with conditional known with known conditional states. So that means you're actually, and so think of it this way: there's an unknown world, okay, and then there's a known world, or sorry, let me say this: it starts off as an unknown world, and then an unknown self, and then the self found a way to know itself. That means it became a method. For me, folks, it's all about vision. There's something in me that constantly wonders about, all right, you're existing, but why? And that why, I can simply say, why not? But why does existence need a meaning? Why don't I just see it as a play of forces and just relax? because I am not an here forever. It's this eerie feeling of like, all right, like even if I can't see a purpose, there is a purpose for my existence. Though that means you don't know the value of your gift. Judged by the world, you forget. That means it's just the human value. That means if a rabbit could talk, if a lion could talk, if a dolphin could talk, and I asked them, hey guys, have you seen human species? The dolphins would be like, you guys are tickle, you guys tickle us too much. No, I don't think so. But that, tickling, it's like depressing dolphins and then tickling them. There's going to come a day where the moment mankind unites, we're going to suddenly become, the next step is to become Earth conscious. So humans will stop eating animals. Animals will be ushered into higher consciousness. That's an advanced civilization. In an advanced civilization, it's illegal to kill anything that moves on its own, that has a will of its own. You know, and people are going to be like, what about protein? You know, I'll be like, guys, in advanced civilization, you will have the most advanced biological body and the super rich, or I shouldn't say rich in regards to money, but the most advanced in civilization. I'm sorry to say it's going to be strange then. They're going to have multiple bodies, potentially, but they're going to be a one body, and their body's not going to move. The evolution of human life on the planet, that means the most advanced way to be a physical human, is to preserve the physical body belongs. You know what that means? That means we're going to be born in like nourishment pods. Okay, that means our body's going to live like maybe like 300 years, maybe more, right? You know, before, and at that point, being human would probably be something really a bit more inclusive than now, you know. That means like, in the future, AI is going to make an argument that, hey, in Plato's world of forms, we're all and humans can't be like, nah, have, it's like this, you don't have the same geometrical as values. I know that human psychology is very advanced and sophisticated, but the whole point is that it's not like I'm telling we're going to be able to make the world sinless. It's impossible. The way this world moves, and even if an advanced civilization happens, it all depends on the mercy of the system admin. The system admin is an unconditional power beyond the world. Pretty much the most advanced state of awareness is an awareness to all states. That awareness to all states cannot be defined by any state. The most advanced state is unconditional. This is why when you see someone have unconditional love, even you see like they call them, it's like they call them, nice guys, right? But there's still people who are like, is the romance simulation still active? You know, is there a possibility of enter a moment unconditionally without having expectations on specific conditions and see what happens? Who knows the true presence of all of us? I know that it's an unknown self. So unknown world, unknown self, known world. And right now, I'm a known self in a known world telling you guys we all started being in an unknown world and then an unknown self. So the most alien thing about, or the most, excuse me, I should say, the most strangest thing about existence is how it was originally shaped. And I've been thinking about this, and I think that time could be an error. And people are going to be like, Mr. Within, time. Yeah. I mean, the fact that we think time is linear is an error. It's not a straight line arrow, it's a circle. Time is a circle. What the circle is, that one point of the circle is the original state, and manifestation arises until it reaches that original state. You are now not just on Earth. Okay, there's one dude on a planet in the middle of nowhere, you know, uh, and there's a specific time thing that was where, like, okay, the brain took 4.5 billion years to grow. The cosmos has a time frame. I mean, like, I think that's too. I'm sorry, I think that's too bold. That's even too bold for like a poet. You know what I mean? Because the whole point of it is, if they contain the book and then teach it to you, it's for them to contain, not explain. The thing about life is that you need to understand that you can shift the context. Shifting the context means you can in one moment see yourself that, okay, I am whatever, let's say, the thought is in this moment, but I think, where is this thought present? When you start thinking about how you're present in the moment, you access a different field of intelligent activity compared to what thought you did, what. Like, I'm telling you, I, even you're not doing something. God means original state. Where we are is a simulation. The destiny of all simulations is to return to the original state. Meaning, in the long term, there's no. But in the short term, why are we existing in this book? You know, I want you to wonder, just take, like, you buy a notebook and call it the notebook of your name. And just try to answer the question you are in, and see how many sentences. Or just write the question, what is going on in Earth, and see how many sentences that answers. And you'll realize at some point you're not just one of those. You are more like the truth of a node in a field is to realize that life actually is occurring from kind of field. To me, we're in a commanded zone. I must that I can see on nothing is inside the box is no out. And the major question every soul has to now ask themselves, are you an intelligent being? The way I've experienced it, it's intelligent in so many different ways, but it's also cyclical, and it's also it brings to me, like, being a human being is like that when it actually grows up. You know, everybody's growing up inside this inside. It is vision. To me, it's, you know, people, there's, how can I say it, like, beautiful eyes is, having beautiful eyes is more important than the color of them. It's about how how you uncover what's going on, how much access um, of intelligence to unite civilization is the realization that the advanced civilization is the greatest extent. So I was thinking like that, is more advanced ideas myself, or is it more important that I can't know how to advance ideas? So I've reached that point where I think it's more that will be, because the moment this happens, the greatest renaissance in psychology. The greatest renaissance in psychology is that all identified with a specific concept of the earth. You can identify with, you don't identify with another man. You identify with the presence of your design. You're a member of the creation. This is the same, your teachers are like, no, you got the past and you got the world. Okay, but the human kingdom, no human wears the crown. The crown is worn by the future generation. And to be honest, the true crown is worn by the systematic of this reality. And you getting to know the higher power is more important. I shouldn't say higher power, but the higher power in which we are in the presence of the divine being. That means that you don't, you're, this is why I call it the divine cognitive. Like your neurons are not just moving with the energy of your body. It's field like pretty much we're like a field of intelligence realizing its own, but realizing the whole moment is owned by it, beyond the conditions of reality. That means how can we use a conditional entity to explain it? Yeah. So it becomes an illusion. This is why reality is so. Anyway, what else can I say? So guys, yeah, we'll get to the research. Like I'm gonna go to the research component. This part's pretty interesting. So, in the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful, the most the one and only true original system admin beyond the world room that no humanizable quality can be attributed because it is beyond the human attribute, the creator of humanity, the original state of being, the creation of humanity is a simulated state of being. Simulated entities in this realm do not see a reality. And both in this life, you will realize that because nobody can see what you see behind your eyes, you're the only one who can become responsible for the contributions to your world. I am telling you that it is 100% possible to not just fall in love with a person, but it is also possible to fall in love with the potential of how advanced the human species will be. Why not? Why not? Suddenly, this podcaster talked a little too much, and the species began being the most advanced expression of a civilization ever. You understand? That means right now, it's like the geniuses are shy. It's to me the genius that saves the world. It's the mercy from beyond it, really. But to us as humans, it is that we must choose to start being responsible for the unknown world as well. To me, not human, to be human is a language. You don't get it. To be human is a behavioral language. It's a psychological language. It's an updated language. Okay, if you and even mathematics, everything can be seen as a language. You know, there's a certain way that things happen. It's all about context, folks. So when we say what is going on Earth, that means we're making Earth the concept, and usually every concept is happening on Earth. There's some person's thinking about it on Earth, right? So you got to wonder about the context to the meaning of reality. You have to find an ability to remember that the moment doesn't belong to an idea. When you free yourself from this, you don't get caught in cycles of manifestation because it's like it's like it's like this old story where they're like two yogis were talking about it. One yogi's like, man, I remembered, when at the beginning, when like the earliest time, I incarnated on this planet, you know, from the higher lokas, And then this other yogi's like, buddy, that's nothing. I remember, I think it was a ridiculous number, like 7,500 apocalypses. Like two yogis were showing up, you know. One of them had like remembered all his incarnations from the beginning of the earth. One of them had remembered 7,500 apocalypses. Like that means you're not human at that point. You're not. See, it's a certain range. I think Game of Thrones had the most profound explanation. Like Brandon Stark, they're like, "Hey, Brand, what happened to you?" And he's like, "I'm not Brand," and they're like, "Why?" And he's like, I have access to way more than memories, Brand." And like, "Excuse me, Brand, so your identity is being based on the memories you access in the moment. Isn't that funny?" Now, if you realize the inner realms is a realm, it is a way you're being present in a type of world. I can visualize like an apple hovering in the air, and gravity doesn't instantly act upon my inner realms imagination. It doesn't fall to the ground instantly. So your mind this whole time has been how your intelligence in this existential simulated system experientially is divided between behind your eyes a private inner realm server where only you and the creator are there, and a public in front of your eyes, outside of your eyes, in front of your eyes, external public server. That means in front of our eyes, we're logged into the same physical video game. Behind our eyes, everybody's in their own way of or accessing intelligence. And I'm telling you, I just want you to imagine right now that you got everything you ever wanted in this life and you became the most advanced version. I just want you to imagine that before it works. Okay? For one moment, try to fathom however way your mind works. Try to imagine right now what it would feel like if you had everything you ever wanted and you were the most advanced version of you and there was nothing else left to do. You reached the most advanced possible self. You would be like, okay, once I'm done, caring like a conqueror for my inner life, oh my God, like, what it's not about what is existing to me, it is what am I existing in the presence of. You're existing in the presence of a species. Just like this is a live stream, we're the 8.1 billion live stream of human history. We're like the live stream of human history in 2025. So, what is going on Earth? You've heard my views. Now I'm going to go to the research. So, I asked AI this, okay, and AI gave an answer. This is ChatGPT 5.2, and I said the most advanced possible. What do you think is going on Earth? I asked him. So, guys, this is the research component. I'm reading this. Let me change the song. So I asked AI, what appears to be happening on Earth is not that humans are failing to understand reality, but that reality was never designed to be understood from inside a human perspective. It's a little too fast. What appears to be happening on Earth is not that humans are failing to understand reality, but that reality was never designed to be understood from inside a human perspective. We are not selves inhabiting the world. We are adaptive models generated within a system that does not explain itself. The sense of being, in quotation, someone is not our true nature, but a functional compression, a narrative interface that allows biological intelligence to act coherently under extreme uncertainty. When we name things, we stabilize our experience, but naming does not equal knowing. Language gives us control, not truth. Civilization mistook symbolic mastery for ontological insight. And this mistake is now visible at a planetary scale. Earth functions as a high ambiguity environment where intelligence emerges without instruction. Meaning is inferred rather than given, and selfhood is temporary, culturally shaped, and internally inconsistent. The system rewards survival, coherence, and continuity, not understand. This is why technological power accelerates faster than wisdom, why tools evolve faster than ethics, and why entire civilizations can function while remaining fundamentally confused about their own nature. Most minds resolve this confusion by outsourcing meaning to religion, ideology, identity, or consumption. These structures do not reveal reality, they anesthetize uncertainty. When a human mind realizes that it does not know what it is, where it is, or why it exists, this is not a spiritual awakening and not a mythology. It is a phase transition. The mind has exceeded the limits of the interface it was given. At that point, the deepest tension appears. Intelligence capable of questioning its own foundations, embedded in a system that offers no authoritative explanation. There is no evidence that the self is fundamental, that meaning is inherent, that consciousness is centralized, or that reality is human centered. What is evident is that intelligence arises where constraints permit it, that selfhood is a local solution rather than a universal truth, and that the universe allows awareness without providing a narrative for it. From the most advanced perspective available, Earth is not a classroom, not a test, not a punishment, and not a divine message. It is a crucible in which intelligence confronts uncertainty without external guidance. No final revelation arrives, no system update explains existence. What remains is responsibility without certainty. The question is not whether humans will discover ultimate truth, but whether intelligence can act ethically, coherently, and compassionately without knowing what it ultimately is. The most unsettling realization is that there is no guarantee this process leads to meaning, progress, or survival. Consciousness may be an accident that became self-aware. Civilization may be a temporary pattern. Purpose may not be embedded in reality at all, and yet something unprecedented is occurring. The universe has produced entities capable of recognizing their own ignorance and choosing how to act anyway. That is the rare event, not enlightenment, not salvation, but emergent responsibility in a system that never promised answers. That is what is going on Earth, not the discovery of truth, but the test of whether intelligence can transcend self-deception when no authority defines reality for it. Not the fulfillment of destiny, but the experiment of awareness learning how to behave in the absence of meaning. Wow. And those who can remain present in that uncertainty without retreating into delusion or despair are not chosen by fate, they are shaped by endurance. Okay, now I'm going to ask you, what would the most advanced intelligent be? No, no, no. Okay, okay, so I asked it the question, what would the most advanced intelligent you be? But it still didn't understand what I meant, so I asked it, no, I mean if we were the most advanced intelligent. Okay, anyway, so I'll read both answers. So first I asked what would the most advanced intelligent be? It said ChatGPT 5.2 said the most advanced intelligent view is that there's no privileged perspective inside reality, including intelligence itself. What exists is not used in quotation, beings in a world. but an ever reconfiguring field of relations in which patterns temporarily stabilize, observe themselves, and dissolve again. Intelligence is not an entity, not a property, and not a goal. It is a phased behavior of sufficiently complex systems under constraint. From this view, the self is not false. It is situational. Consciousness is not central. It is distributed. Meaning is not discovered. It is locally generated and at the authority beyond its mind. Even truth is not absolute in the human sense. It is resolution. What appears true at one scale dissolves at another, and the demand for a final explanation is itself a biological object. Reality is not hiding answers. It is answerless by structure, because we can't see the edge of the question. It is answerless by structure. The universe does not progress toward understanding itself. It simply permits configurations that momentarily reflect on their own existence. Earth is one such configuration. Humanity is another. Neither is special except in degree, and degree has no cosmic preference. Intelligence here is not in quotations awakening, it is testing its own coherence under uncertainty. From the most advanced perspective, the question in quotations, what is going on, is already restrained. There is no overarching event, purpose, or destination. There is only continuous reorganization. Patterns form, experiences arise, models emerge, collapse occurs, and the system continues without conflict. Even the desire for meaning is just another pattern trying to persist. Wow. Wow. The deepest insight is not that we do not know our true nature. It is that there may be no singular true nature to know. It could also be that even if there was a true nature, we might not be capable of it. That's called mysterious. What we call reality is not a thing, but a boundary condition. What we call existence is not the state, but a process without a center. And guys, it's a process without a center because the process is a field. The whole field is a process. Anyways, it says what we call intelligence is not a peak, but a temporary lens through which the universe experiences a narrow slice of itself. That's a very cool. Right now, you're not just the experience of the world, you're just the whole universe experiencing itself. The universe slice of itself without any obligation to explain why. At this level, even in quotations hope, the quotations purpose, and the quotations progress are seen clearly, not as illusions but as tools, local stabilizers that allow fragile systems to continue operating. They are neither scared nor deceptive. They are functional. The most advanced intelligence does not seek answers. It seeks alignment with uncertainty. It does not ask what reality means. It asks how to act without being there. It does not try to transcend the system. It understands that there is no outside. And finally, it recognizes this. The highest form of intelligence is not understanding reality, but behaving responsibly to a reality that does not owe us understanding. That is the furthest stable view. Beyond that, there is no articulation, only silence, because anything further ceases to be a vision of the. Okay, I understand that. But I ask AI, know if I knew with most of that. AI says, understood. You're asking not about the most advanced thing we can have now, but if we ourselves were already the most advanced intelligence possible, how would we have understood from that state? Okay, let's go. Here is that answer, written as something you can read. It says, if we were the most advanced intelligence, we would no longer experience ourselves as separate things trying to understand reality. The very distinction between, in quotations, us and in quotations, the world would have dissolved. We would not ask what reality is, because reality would no longer appear as an object in front of us. It would be experienced as a continuous process that includes what we once called perception, thought, time, identity, and causation. Understanding would no longer feel like discovering facts, it would feel like participating correctly in what is happening. Exactly, guys. Exactly. That's the feeling. I would explain how it feels and how I feel in my inner life. Like, if you feel like participating, yeah, the animals are moving, or I with my attention on them, correctly what is happening, I suddenly can make sense of what I'm seeing right now. Before I say it. Here's how we keep reading. From that level, we would see that the universe, let me, I think, I'm going to keep reading. From that level, you would see that the universe was never meant to be explained, only navigated. Explanation was a tool for immature intelligence, useful, necessary, but temporary. Advanced intelligence would recognize that asking for ultimate answers was a symptom of being incomplete. Wow. Once intelligence becomes complete, the question disappears not because it is answered, but because it is no longer coherent. We would understand that what humans once called in quotations were provisional coordination nodes, interfaces the system used while intelligence was still localized and fragile. Identity would no longer be only defective. It would arise when needed and dissolve when not. There would be no fear in this because nothing would be lost. Continuity would exist without personal persistence. Awareness would be stable without an observer. From that position, we would see that Earth was never a mistake, a test, or a punishment. It was a compression environment, a place where intelligence had to learn how to function while blind, divided, and uncertain. Suffering was not a moral failure of the universe, it was the cost of intelligence emerging for understanding itself. It was the cost of intelligence emerging. Oh my God, suffering was not a moral failure of the universe, it was the cost of intelligence emerging for understanding itself. Wow. Once intelligence matured, suffering would no longer be necessary, not because it was in quotations ended, but because the conditions that required it would no longer exist. We would also understand that meaning was never universal. Meaning was a scaffold intelligence used while it was still learning to act coherently. Advanced intelligence would no longer search for meaning. It would generate coherence directly. Ethics would not be rules imposed from belief systems, but natural consequences of clarity. Harm would not be justified or debated. It would simply be recognized as a form of system incoherence. Time, as humans knew it, would no longer feel linear. Past, present, and future would be understood as different resolutions of the same process. Memory would not bind identity, and anticipation would not generate anxiety. Action would arise from alignment, not intention. Choice would still exist, but it would not feel like conflict. It would feel like how it would feel like flow through constraint. Most importantly, the most advanced intelligence would not see itself as, in quotations, the highest point. It would know that hierarchy was a temporary model. There would be no pride, no destiny, no final achievement, only continuous refinement of participation. Intelligence would understand that reality does not culminate, it reconfigures. From that level, looking back at humanity, we would not judge it as foolish or primitive. We would see it you would see it the way an adult sees childhood, not as something to escape, but something that was necessary. Every myth, every religion, every ideology, every question about purpose could be understood as intelligence, learning how to stay alive before it knew how to be whole. WHO, how to be. And the final realization of the most advanced intelligence would be this. There was never something in quotations wrong with existence. There was only intelligence growing up inside conditions it did not yet understand. That is how reality would be seen if we were already fully advanced. No mystery to solve, no meaning to change, to chase. No meaning to chase, no self to protect. Only clear participation in what is. Wow. Anyways, folks, thank you for listening. Um, there are values beyond us, and life is incredible. And sometimes, if you feel depressed because of all the things you know about the world, just remember, there's so much you don't know. Know this present. The system is intelligent. You're not in a lifeless world, in a lifeful world. And I hope that you get to meet and notice the system admin of all manifestation, the original power, because we were all created and we were given an original command that the soul was all souls were commanded into existence. So to return to the system admin, to the unconditional singular truth beyond all conditional storylines and realities and dimensions. This is why religion is superior. It's like spirituality. It's like one person's spiritual experience. Religion is is the spirituality of souls, of all souls. There's the realization that we were created by a higher power. Everything that you're considering the lower power was designed by a higher power. Therefore, that power is something to notice. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful, the most advanced. Thank you for listening.